Everyone. Um, Today I wanted to record a video kind of expanding on uh, the video I made recently around the Barbie doll dog play sets that include, strangely, in my opinion, little plastic Barbie dog feces. And um, I just find that strange, and I want to touch on that a bit more. I forgot to talk about that, some things surrounding that on the last video. And I also wanted to expand on this idea about dinkwads. And I saw I Hate Dogs a shout out because you inspire a lot of my topics and get my brain thinking about things I'd like to talk about and cover or expand on. And he mentioned in the video that I first reacted to the concept of it's not a concept, the reality of population decline that's happening in several different countries in the West and in some parts of Asia, I believe. Let me actually just look this up. Okay, so I think this is kind of interesting. Let's find some numbers. Here we go. Countries with the highest population decline rate 2024. Let's see what this says. Alright, so here's a list of countries with the greatest rates of population decline compared to previous year. So that's interesting. I'm actually seeing a lot of countries on here I wasn't expecting to see. So, Cook Islands, American Samoa, looks like Eastern Europe is making up a lot of this list, and Japan, I think a lot of people know about that. Okay, so this is the total fertility rate from 1950 to 2021, projected out until 2100. So we see a pretty dramatic decline, I feel. And I think this is worldwide. So maybe I should narrow my search a little bit. This is interesting. From 2019, Pew Research Center says that the world population growth is expected to nearly stop by 2100. Global population crash isn't sci-fi anymore. This is from this year. And Bloomberg article. So basically, my point here is not to really get deeply into these numbers and statistics. I think I really just wanted to kind of start by saying that, conversations around things like population decline aren't, just in the purview of some fringe conspiracy theory worldview or anything like that. I mean, this is something that is being discussed um, in what are considered, reliable mainstream publications. Um, let's see. What does this say? The number of live children the average woman bears in her lifetime has been falling since the 1970s. In one country after another, it has now fallen below the so-called replacement rate, which is 2.1 children per woman threshold. So basically, yeah, this is replacement level. Because when you and your spouse pass, if you've had at least two children, you've replaced yourselves, so there's no growth there. So that would be, I guess, the point one. Um, so I wanted to actually show this clip. I thought I Hate Dogs and the other viewers would find interesting. Um, Actually, when was this? So this is 5 months ago, and this is Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, which I'm not going to get into in this video because that's a whole different rabbit hole. But if you aren't aware of Larry Fink and BlackRock, that is certainly something you should look up, start reading about, look into, just for your own information.
I could argue in the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations. Okay, that's something that most people never talked about. We always used to think shrinking population is a cause for negative growth. But in my conversations with the leadership of these large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies, they don't allow anybody to come in, shrinking unemployment, shrinking demographics, these countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most of us think it will, we'll be able to elevate the standard of living of countries and the standard of living of individuals, even with shrinking populations. And so the paradigm of negative population growth is going to be changing. And the social problems that one will have in substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations. And so for those countries that have rising populations, the answer will be education, and so rapidly developing. For those countries that do not have a foundation of rule of law or education, they're going to be left. That's where the divide's going to get more and more extreme. And unfortunately,
Okay, so kind of an interesting clip there, 30-second clip, talking about the winners are going to be those countries with declining populations, replacing humans with machines, and I don't, apparently not one video can go by where I have to look this up. Hold on. I'm just curious. Yeah, so interesting that in that clip he mentions xenophobic immigration policies, but he is a staunch supporter of Israel, which is currently in the process of genociding the native population of Palestine and Lebanon, so that Israel can expand its colonial project into the the remaining parts of Palestine that haven't already been stolen, and South Lebanon, where they want to continue their Greater Israel project. And I did not mean to digress into this, but like I said, I can't go uh, apparently one video without bringing this up because it's such an important topic. And I just think it's very hypocritical that he's here at the World Economic Forum talking about countries with xenophobic immigration policies and then in the background, investing in Israel, funding Israel, which I believe, if you want to talk about xenophobic immigration policies, let's just take a look at their immigration policy. So, Israel is a literal ethno-state. It's probably got one of, if not the most restrictive immigration policy in the world. And any Jew in the world has an unrestricted right to immigrate to Israel and become an Israeli citizen. However, Palestinians who were born there and lived there, you know, people who are from Palestine aren't allowed to go back. Okay, like I said, digression, I didn't mean to get back into Zionism, but when he mentioned that in the clip, I had to. So that's interesting because, you know, I don't think he would like to see that population decline, but population declining in the rest of the world is a good thing. The people are going to have higher standards of living, according to him, even though I believe he's also the one who said we'll own nothing and be happy, or at least that I think that came out of the World Economic Forum, actually. I don't want to be wrong, so let me just look that up. Yeah, let's just see. I don't want Twitter. Yeah, okay. So that wasn't him. That was from the World Economic Forum, though. So, anyways, digression. But I had to call him out on that one. Okay, so here in Bloomberg, global population crash isn't sci-fi anymore. We used to worry about the planet getting too crowded, but there are plenty of downsides to a shrinking humanity as well. When was this published? Okay, yeah, so it was updated March 11th, 2024. So that's from this year. Let's see. We used to imagine humanity populating the universe. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, again, citing this European Commission Center of Expertise on Population and Migration Projects, projects that the global population will peak in the 2070s. Um, the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, an independent research organization, says it will peak at a lower level and earlier still at 9.7 billion in 2064. The key word is peak. Nearly all demographers now appreciate that we shall likely reach peak humanity this century, not because of a lethal pandemic, although that possibility should never be ruled out. Um, it's because the UNPD incorporates into its population model any other apocalyptic scenario, whether climate change or nuclear war. It's simply because all over the world, the total fertility rate, the number of live children the average woman bears in her lifetime, has been falling since the 1970s. Okay, so we covered that, the replacement rate. Okay, so this says more than half of the projected increase in the global population between 2022 and 2050 is expected to be concentrated in just 8 countries: the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, the Philippines, and the United Republic of Tanzania. That is because already close to half of the global population lives in a country or area where lifetime fertility is below the replacement rate, this 2.1 births per woman. Let's see. In South Korea, the total fertility rate in 2023 is estimated to have been 0.72. In Europe, there's no longer a difference between Roman Catholic and Protestant countries. Italy's current total fertility rate is 1.21 and lower than England's at 1.44. Nor is there a difference between Christian and Islamic civilizations. The US total fertility rate is now at 1.62 and Iran is 1.54. So, um, a global baby bust. Here's a chart graphing the fertility rate from 1950 to 2050, like projected out to 2050 at current trends. So there's some theories about this, and obviously I'm not going to, you know, necessarily yes, blame uh, dog ownership entirely for this phenomenon. I think it's There's a lot of factors, obviously. Um, but I do want to just kind of touch on the possibility that, you know, the dinkwads, which is something I've discussed in the last video and in a couple other videos I recorded, um, could, have a contribution to this phenomenon, or maybe are just, a result of it. I don't know. But it says many Americans have opted out of parenthood, according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau. As of 2022, 43% of households in America were childless. And if I'm not remembering incorrectly, what is the percentage? Have a dog. Okay, so this is saying that in 2022 in the US, 44.5% of households own a dog. And here, 43% of households were childless. So I wonder what the Venn diagram of that looks like. So that's a 7% uptick from the prior decade. So these terms, such as dinkwad, have emerged to describe the growing trend of couples and individuals choosing not to have children, either temporarily or permanently. And then it talks about some of these different acronyms. And then here it mentions there's a substantial discourse surrounding the impact of a growing number of child-free individuals and couples on society. On one hand, it could alleviate some of the strain on resources and infrastructure caused by overpopulation. Alternatively, it may also contribute to a declining birth rate, which is the TFR we just talked about, the total fertility rate, which could have long-term economic and social implications such as labor shortages and an aging population. While some may regret not having children, others may find fulfillment in other aspects of life, such as careers, personal pursuits, or contributing to society in meaningful ways. The top reasons for not currently having children are financial freedom, the day-to-day flexibility of not having children, and being unable to financially support a child. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to say about this topic. Um, there's definitely no question, it's not like some crazy conspiracy theory or just anti-dog uh, rhetoric, I guess. These types of mainstream trusted articles are even saying it's kind of like they can say it, but if we say it, it's suddenly like we're crazy and bad, you know? I just think that's weird. So those are things I wanted to touch on uh, to start this video off. And then another thing I didn't cover as much as I'd wanted to on my previous video, where I was um, showing all the different types of weird dog poop puppy toys that are available, is just the overarching concept of, like, I feel like this really ties into, forgive all my tabs, I know. I was preparing for this video and I opened so many tabs I wanted to go over. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about this. So, the phrase cleanliness is next to godliness. It raised a question for me. If cleanliness is next to godliness, is filthiness next to dogliness? Because there does seem to be, in my opinion, kind of a weird preoccupation, I'll call it, with filth and feces, and dog owners. I feel like someone left a comment on my last video saying that they felt like the dog poop included with the Barbie dolls was to help desensitize, people or kids and get them used to the idea of having to clean up dog feces because that is a part of dog ownership. And we talk about that on a lot of different voice chats. People complain about it all the time on Dog Free or Tales from the Doghouse or just in general because a lot of people don't clean up after their dogs, leave piles of dog crap in their neighbor's yard, leave dog crap just laying out on the sidewalk, contaminate parks with dog crap, contaminate their yards. Some individuals, including myself, have lived next to, dog owners that just don't ever clean up after their dogs, so the yard next door becomes just like a festering biohazard, causing fly infestations and just stench and biohazards. So I thought it was interesting that it's kind of like the inverse of this phrase. Cleanliness is next to godliness is a moral principle that suggests people have a duty to keep themselves and their homes clean. Um, the saying, cleanliness is next to godliness, suggests that being clean is nearly as important as being morally upright. It also implies the significance of maintaining personal hygiene and a tidy living environment. And, I'm not promoting one religion over another here, but in Christianity, the idea isn't just about keeping our bodies and homes clean, but, it's important to keep your mind clean. And that's something I personally believe. And I wanted to point out, too, that the same thing applies in Islam. And we already know and have discussed that in Islam, um, dogs are considered unclean, um, as well as Christianity. But I think in Islam, they even say, like, an angel won't enter a home if there's a dog inside and things like that. And, they say the same things. Islam is a religion that encourages and loves cleanliness of the mind, soul, and body. Um, and they have, a lot of their religion has this concept of cleanliness, and purifying yourself, and it applies both physically and spiritually. So that's also something I tend to believe. Um, I believe it's very important to maintain like some level of purity. And I feel like dog culture is an assault on that, both physically and just spiritually or psychologically. Hearing a dog barking all day long next door to you is, you know, a form of assault on your mental state. It's kind of like an uncleanliness, an audible uncleanliness. It's not a relaxing sound, it's not a peaceful sound. So I just thought it was strange that many of those Barbie doll toys included feces. Like, how strange is that? I just, so I got, and this is another phenomenon I've noticed. It's not just the Barbie dolls. There's, I noticed this even before I started talking about like dogs on YouTube or anything. There was an explosion of toys in general that are literal feces. Like the toy itself is poop. I mean, I feel weird and like gross even talking about it, and I feel a little bit awkward making a video like this, but I do think it's something that is worth discussing. because, I mean, you can see here, like, there's just this poop bingo, and of course it's got dogs and all kinds of animals, and I guess doggy doo toy, um, just fake plastic poo. Again, the pooping Barbie dogs show up here. Um, what is this? For real friends packs my poopin' pup plush toy. I mean, if you want to talk about sustainability and not wasting resources and overpopulation, or it's good that population's in decline because now we'll have more resources, but how much resources are wasted on this kind of crap? Like, it's just, and no pun intended, it's just actually absurd to me, and I find it strange. Um, and again, before you come for me for being uptight, uh, I get that there's, these gag jokes and stuff can be people find it funny and whatever, but I just think it's weird. So there was one game in particular I wanted to point out as being really gross, and I thought I had it pulled up already somewhere. Like I said, I've opened so many tabs preparing for this video that it's actually becoming difficult for me to find the tabs I'm looking for. Um, I might just have to Google it again and open yet another tab. One moment. Because this is one I personally have seen, um, and I think this was the first instance of this type of this genre of game that I saw, and I was literally shocked when I saw this game. I was actually shocked and appalled. Yeah, this is the very first poo related game that I saw, and I thought it was so disturbing. It's literally a game where you blindfold a child, put this fake clay poop out, and of course it's literally like a dog poop, and the game is, haha, how fun it is, and how funny and hilarious that your child walks barefoot and steps in this simulated dog poop. I don't know. Maybe I am. No, I'm not. I'm not uptight. This is weird. This is so weird and gross. Um, Let me go back because these were some of the first tabs I opened. So, and it's not just me because I started Googling this um, concept up, and I found that I wasn't the only one asking, like, what is the deal with all of these poop related toys? Yeah, so here, young children's toys as of now are disgusting. This is from 4 years ago on Reddit. For starters, what makes toy producers think kids want to play with poop, with feces? I'm looking for a birthday present for my cousin, but I swear everything is shit. I thought, oh, I'll get her the dancing flamingo. Something fun, but it has a poop function for no reason. I understand that there's, gross genres of toys, blah, blah, blah. This is from 5 years ago. Why is there a sudden obsession with poop in the toy industry? I have the same question. Oh, um, I don't know what that one is. I think it was also okay. I really need to get an ad blocker. Don't judge me. I'll get one installed before the next video. So here this article is from 2020, and it says, why the most popular toys of the year poop? It's not just that kids find poop gross and hilarious, there's a strong psychological element as well. So again, this isn't just me being weird or conspiracy theorist or like crazy. People are noticing and asking questions. Why is this why is this suddenly a thing? Why is there poop everywhere? And here we have 6 months ago on Pet Free, pet owners are obsessed with talking about the gross, disgusting things their pets do. Dogs humping things, leaking semen everywhere, older dogs leaking pee and poo everywhere, walking around with diapers, dogs eating feces, used pads, tampons, underwear, dogs vomiting, furniture and clothes being covered in dog drool and hair, pet breath. Um, yeah, there's just like some kind of issue going on where maybe people are being either conditioned or just living such degenerate lifestyles that they're losing what should be a natural aversion to filth. So here I looked it up. The natural aversion to feces is an evolutionary adaptation that helps protect humans from disease and infection. Disgust is a survival mechanism. It's part of the behavioral immune system because bacteria present in feces are more resilient than other bacteria, making them more likely to infect humans. This is a universal response, or it should be. People across cultures respond similarly to disgusting stimuli like feces, such as recoiling, shuddering, and making a disgusted expression. The aversion to feces extends to the waste of other species, and many herbivores and primates avoid feces when feeding. What animal do we know of and talk about all the time that doesn't have an aversion to feces and actually seeks it out and consumes it on a consistent basis? None other than dogs. So, human beings are supposed to be evolutionarily hardwired to have a negative reaction and a disgust response to feces and other forms of filth. But dog owners, we already know, become nose blind, completely desensitized to filth, completely desensitized to feces, handle feces on a regular basis, or just choose not to handle it and leave it to fester and contaminate their homes and yards. And this is something I looked up, I wanted to talk about on my last video and forgot to mention it. But there is a strange, like I said, there's just a really strange amount of preoccupation with feces and, in particular, dog feces among dog owners. Like, I have a disgust response to filth and to feces to the extent that even if I know, for example, that this is a delicious chocolate cake, I don't think I could eat this. Like my body physically and my brain are reacting to this as if it's something filthy and disgusting, even though I know it's a cake or like cupcakes or whatever. And the fact that this would be considered fun and funny and kooky and people would make something that literally looks like feces that you're supposed to be hardwired to completely avoid and then consume it is, I think, I think this is demonstrating there's some kind of like mental illness going on. There's something is wrong here. This shouldn't be, this is not the sign of a healthy culture. This is a sign of a really depraved, sick culture, um, in my opinion. And it made me think of this. I mean, those pastries and cakes and stuff is simulated coprophagia. They're simulating what was always considered, it used to be in the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, this was classified as an actual paraphilia, like a mental illness. Um, Again, and what that made me think of is I'm going to start closing some of these tabs. so I can find what I'm looking for. But I don't know if you all have seen this. I think this is a demonstration of what I was talking about. This is simulated poop eating. So there are these pastries that became super popular. I started seeing pictures of these, and people think it's so cute and funny. But it's literally these pastries that are made to look like a dog's anus and rear end, and they're usually filled with a chocolate filling. And people think it's cute and hilarious and fun because when you squeeze the pastry, the chocolate comes out and looks like dog poop. So I would like to hear anyone explain to me how this is cute and fun and not kind of a major red flag that something is seriously wrong. I mean, especially like, okay, you might be able to say, like, oh, calm down, it's just cute pastry. Maybe I could see that if it wasn't literally centered on the idea of like feces coming out of a dog's ass. Like, sorry for the crude language, but maybe you could tell me it's just supposed to be something kind of cute and fun, except that it's literally centered around you simulating eating feces coming out of a dog's ass. I just don't understand what is going on in the mass psychology of culture that is doing these types of things. I really just think there's something wrong. Because in reality, if you were, look at this case for example. This is from 2018. This is absolutely horrible. I didn't even know about this case. I came across this randomly while just looking for those dog butt pastries. There are these two women who were arrested by the Maryland State Police and charged with multiple counts of child abuse in Wicomico County. These 29 and 25-year-old women are charged with these three counts of first degree child abuse, second degree child abuse, first degree assault, second degree assault, reckless endangerment, neglect of a minor, stalking, use of a dangerous weapon with intent to injure, false imprisonment, and one count each of causing ingestion of a bodily fluid, preventing interfering with a report of suspected child abuse or neglect, and conspiracy to commit first degree child abuse. That is quite a rap sheet. And it says the children were beaten, confined, and forced to eat dog feces. So I just thought this was so horrific and also so strange that on one hand you have dog nutters joking and celebrating and making literal pastries and cakes in the form in the form of feces and eating it for fun, whereas if you lived in a reality of that happening, it would be some of the worst, most disgusting a form of child abuse imaginable. So I just thought that was strange, and it's just weird that when I was looking up dog butt pastries, because people are pretending to eat dog shit for fun, I came across an actual case of women forcing children to eat dog shit as a horrific form of abuse. Um, and so I kind of wanted to, yeah, so again, this ties back into this concept of moral filth and physical filth being connected. I do feel like there is a connection here. So I do feel that people who are okay with living in filth, their dogs are pooping on their floors, peeing on their floor, their house stinks, covered in hair, like that is an external representation of an internal filth, like a moral failing. So this mentions In Mark 9:25, the demon is called an unclean spirit, impure and lewd. In Scripture, demons are well known for being unclean, as representing the work of sin which defiles the sinner. Curse words are filthy language, and some people love to tell dirty jokes. Moral filth often goes along with physical filth. Evil people are dirty in mind and often in body and dwelling. The Bible describes demons abusing those they possessed by causing them to convulse, fall, break a limb, foam at the mouth, roll, and gnash their teeth. A lot of these things sound like you associate foaming at the mouth. Immediately, that makes me think of a dog, like a rabid dog. Gnashing their teeth, that also brings images to me of gnashing, like a dog gnashing its teeth. So I just think it's impossible kind of to separate these two things, moral filth and physical filth, I mean. Um, okay, we've gone through all of these already. And yeah, again, just to demonstrate, like, it's not just me because I don't like dogs, because I hate dogs, that I look at these kinds of toys and think something is wrong. No, people for years now have been like people who have nothing to do with the dog critic community or whatever are wondering what is the deal with these weird poop toys. Another one here. 4 years ago, why are there so many scat-focused toys for kids all of a sudden? I do not have children, but occasionally need to buy toys for nephews and the like, and I notice a lot of toys are poo themed. Why? Here's an example. What's the example? I didn't actually look at earlier. Seems like that link might not be bringing up that, like, that was an old link, so that makes sense. Oh yeah, here, I did pull it up earlier. So this was the first of this kind of toy that I ever saw in real life. And like I said, this was even before I was involved in, anything to do with um, critiquing dog culture. This was like a few years ago. I had never even heard of I Hate Dogs or Animal on Control. Like I wasn't involved in anything like this. And I just saw this toy. Someone had bought this toy for their grandkid or grandkids to play with. And I was literally like, something is wrong with you. I internally thought that to myself. I was like, why would you buy this for any child? Like, that's really weird. Why would you ever encourage them to like play with poop, even if it's, yeah, I know it's not real poop, but like, you know, it's just the idea of it should be enough to turn people off, and I think. Again, 7 months ago, this is, nothing to do with dog uh, culture critique. And people are like, why are there so many poop themed toys? Yes, why? Something is wrong with our society. Here's an article from 2018. Toy makers turn to the toilet for poop inspired toys. Oh, yeah, so this mentions Mattel, who makes those Barbie doll dog poop toys. Um, in 2018 was set to release a game called Flushin' Frenzy that sends a brown plastic poop flying into the air. Rival Hasbro, whose water squirting game Toilet Trouble was a hit last year, stuck with the potty humor this year and released Don't Step in It, that game that I just showed you, where players are blindfolded and have to avoid stepping in poop that's molded out of a clay-like substance. Of course, they come up with an excuse like, oh, kids think it's funny, kids like it. Um, this is a toy analyst at the market research company, the NPD Group. Sticky the Poo, a squishy likeness with eyes, clings to walls and ceilings when thrown. The company behind it, Hog Wild, sells a rainbow version called Sticky Unicorn Poo. It's Sticky the Plunger is sold separately. Um, there's Poo for Collectors. Flush Force by toymaker Spin Master sells 150 nickel-sized mutant critters that kids can collect. Poopies, meanwhile, makes tiny squishy collectibles with character names such as Poogie, Skidmark, and Dumpling. These are aimed at boys 7 and up, says Ashley Maddie, who created Poopies and works for toy company Basic Fun. And then here someone posted, I don't know, I don't even know, is this real or satire? I can't even tell in our society the difference most of the time anymore. I would have hoped all of these actual toys were some kind of sick joke, but they're real. So it's possible that this is real. I'd like to believe it's not, but who knows anymore? So again, I just randomly came across another message board. What is it with toy companies? Where they keep making weird poop toys for kids. To me, it's gross. Why are these things being made? All it does is basically teach kids to play with poop. And actually, most of the comments are in agreement with that. It's just, I don't even know what this forum is, honestly. I just came across it when searching. Um, again, here's some more examples of all the weird different types of poop related toys that have been coming out for children to play with. Um, and not all of them are, dog related, but I just think that there's a connection there. Oh yeah, here's the corgi butt buns again. Oh yeah. I also wanted to tie this back into um, Dog Nutter's weird preoccupation with um, feces and pooping. Again, it's not me just saying, "Oh, dog nutters are obsessed with pooping." Like they're making who is the consumer for this? Who's the market for this? It's certainly not going to be me or anyone that doesn't like dogs. We're not going to go out and buy a dog poop calendar where every month of the year you're going to be staring at a disgusting image like this. And yes, I know people are going to say, "Oh, it's just a joke. It's like a gag gift." But if that's the case, like what a waste of resources too. And also, I don't believe you. I don't believe this. I feel like dog nutters would hang this up in their house or their office or wherever. So, again, I just thought that was very strange. Um, and another slight digression here, but it's not just the toys. I've noticed there's a strange number of kids' books nowadays too that are involve butts. Um, I'm not going to get into this like in great detail. Um, I just wanted to point it out as kind of like an aside or digression, and really just kind of to demonstrate that I feel our culture is just really sliding down the drain, so to speak. Um, here's an editorial or an opinion piece by Alyssa Rosenberg, who disagrees with the firing of assistant principal Toby Price. Let's see, this was in 2022. And of course, she's saying, oh, this is just a culture war over books. They want to ban books. But the problem is this book, the reason, parents got upset is because the nature of the book, this guy's reading to a bunch of second graders. So what, they would be like 6, 7 years old? Is this book, I Need a New Butt. And parents were upset because of the imagery. It's not because they're prude and uptight, it's because they felt like this sort of image being shown to their, second graders was just strange. Like, what is this? I understand kids think it's funny to say like fart and whatever, but is that something we should really be encouraging? Like I get it's funny and kids like I like for kids to have fun and laugh and joke, but I feel that this is just um it's pushing it a little too far, and I just think it's strange that there's this huge genre of children's books with various authors um, entirely surrounding butts. Like the woman who wrote I Need a New Butt that caused um, parents to get so upset and ended up with that assistant principal getting fired. If you look at her bibliography, I mean, it's not just this book, like every single one of her books is about children's butts. And the illustrator, Ross Kinnaird, I think he illustrates almost all of her books. And it's always just, I mean, you can see it for yourself. I'm not even going to comment. And actually, I looked up her bibliography already earlier, and I think her first, or one of her first books is, actually, this is funny because it kind of ties it back in again. What's her name? Dawn McMillan. Why do dogs? Yeah. So her first, or one of her first books that she wrote is Why Do Dogs Sniff Bottoms? And then she also wrote Butts on the Run, which seemed to center around a dog as well. Let's take a look really quick. Oh no, it just has a dog involved. Um, but it's the same weird series of books that she's written. Um, and this isn't really a new thing, but you can see also it's not just me, and not just because I don't like dogs or I'm making some kind of weird spurious connection between dogs and feces and filth and butts and whatever, and why our kids are being kind of indoctrinated into this weird preoccupation with. I think it's just a weird. It's just a weird preoccupation, um, and I think honestly speaking, um, it has to be intentional. Like this has to be. This seems like a lot more than, oh, kids just think it's funny. Like when people start to notice and write articles and post questions on forums, like, why are there so many butts in kids' books nowadays? This wasn't a thing when I was a kid. Why are there so many toys where it's like encouraging kids to play with feces? Like when it becomes to it's not just like a quirky one-off gag gift. Seems to be like an overarching theme. And again, with the whole concept of like, it's almost like there's just too far of a chasm building between members of our society where on the one hand you have people who seem to be literally desensitized to filth and even to the point of promoting it and making toys about it, celebrating it. Let's talk to our kids about butts and farts and make them subversive and like push the boundaries. Um, I saw an article, was it this one? Coalition Against Censorship. There's some article I was reading during my research on this earlier. Okay, here we go. This isn't that, but this is related. So, this is a forum for DC urban moms and dads. This was in 2023. Tired of children's books. Gross, rude, loud. Half the picture books I read these days involve screaming characters, random loud noises. When I read these, I feel the same aversion I feel when I walk into a house that has the TV blaring all day. Or, a dog barking all day. Um, and it's literally like moms trying to ask other moms, like, do you guys have recommendations for books that aren't vulgar, lewd, gross, make me uncomfortable, like I don't think it's appropriate for my children? And this is a nice list and this is the kind of books I remember reading as a kid. And like Winnie the Pooh, Beatrix Potter, The Wind in the Willows, I loved, Charlotte's Web. Um, yeah, like what happened to um, those kinds of topics and those kind of, nowadays it's like kids are going to be reading, uh, I need a new butt to a dog at the school library. Like, I just think it's it's all kind of related, in my opinion. And this just kind of weird, gross, degenerate dog culture is having is seeping these weird effects into our society at large. Like, let's read to dogs. I mean, we're supposed to think that this is like good for kids. Um, by sitting down next to a dog and reading to the dog, all threats of being judged are put aside. The child relaxes, pats the attentive dog, and focuses on the reading. How is that? See, this is from Therapy Dogs International. This is just straight up BS propaganda. If how is the child focusing on reading if it's also like sitting like patting a dog and like how is the dog being attentive? A dog doesn't understand that it's being read a book. It's probably looking for treats. Like it's just I don't know. As, educational standards around the country fall, kids are reading books about poop and butts, playing with games and toys with that are literally like simulating feces. Um, like how is this a sign of like a healthy society? In my opinion, it's not at all. It's clearly a sign of a sick and strange, increasingly deranged society. Um, and parents don't want this. And the parents who don't like this stuff are accused of being, book burners and trying to censor and why can't you just let the kids have fun? But it, it's not fun. It's not appropriate. It's not teaching the kids anything useful or helpful. Um, yeah, I haven't actually read through this yet, but there's just a growing, I don't know, like I said, I feel like there's just a growing divide um, between people who kind of don't seem to have any standards anymore. It's almost like we just don't have standards. And if you have standards, you're wrong and it's wrong of you to have standards and it's bad. You should let the kids play with the poop toys. You should let the kids read the butt books. You shouldn't be upset that this dude is reading this book to your second grade, you know, children. That's not weird. You're weird for thinking that's weird. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts for tonight's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you all soon.